Well, welcome to this special video installment in the Teacher's Point of View series. My name is Renee with PCS Edventures, and I'm joined today by Kim Turner, a teacher in Liberty, Missouri, who will be sharing her experience setting up a STEAM lab in her school. So welcome, Kim.
Thank you very much.
As we get started here, why don't you tell us a little bit about your teaching background, how you decided to become a teacher, and what your experience has been since then?
Well, this is my 27th year in education.
Wow.
I was not an education major. I graduated with a bachelor's in history from UCLA and got out into the work world and decided that I wanted to make a difference in people's lives, and I didn't think the profession I chose, which is sales, was doing that. And so I went back to school and got my education degree, and it was the right choice because I've been teaching for 27 years and I absolutely love it. I currently work with 4th and 5th grade gifted students in Liberty, and just every day is just an exciting day.
What is the school you currently are working at?
I work at Alexander Donovan in Liberty, Missouri, and it is a site-based education program. So we work with kids from 6 different schools. They're bussed over here, so every day, Monday through Friday, I have a different group of students that come into my classroom. And I have them all day, but it's just a different set of students every day.
So why did you initially choose to bring STEAM to your school?
Well, one of our gifted goals, and I put it here so I would be able to read it correctly, is to develop students' abilities in their domain of talent and interest, and then also to develop critical, creative, problem-solving strategies to become independent investigators. And we felt like our curriculum was very teacher-driven, and we were trying to figure out a way to make it more student-initiated and student learning, where they were driving their learning and they were in the driver's seat. And so last year we participated in something called Battle of the Brains, and an engineering company in Kansas City, Burns McDonnell, hosted it, and they gave us a real world problem or a real opportunity to design an exhibit for our science museum in Kansas City. Mm-hmm. So we've never done it before. We jumped in. We had 5 different proposals that we submitted, one for each day of the week, and one of our proposals out of 800 took 5th place. So as a result of that, we were able to secure about $12,000 in funding to bring in the types of things we wanted to do. We had tried to do STEAM activities, but we didn't have the resources financially to secure the activities we wanted the kids to be able to experience. So by participating in the Battle of the Brains and earning some money, it just got us all excited about STEAM and what STEAM education looks like. And Burns McDonnell promotes STEAM in the schools. They have an education liaison that has curriculum for teachers to use in the classroom. So they're a great partner for us as well.
What an amazing opportunity. That's just a great,
really exciting
chance to bring things to your school that maybe you dreamed of but didn't have the resources for before. Were there any challenges in persuading your administration to support this feat?
Actually, no. I mean, our school district is really trending towards more STEAM type activities, and then also in Project Lead the Way. So our kids are already dabbling in it and getting some opportunities in the regular classroom. Our challenge as gifted teachers, though, is what can we do that they're not already getting? And so once again, that's where we needed some of the supplies and resources to be able to give them those opportunities. And so administration was extremely, thrilled for us and excited, and really allowed us to have just the freedom to choose what we wanted to choose for our classroom. And we really wanted to make sure that all letters of STEAM were represented.
What were the steps that you took to set up the STEAM lab from there once you had the funding?
Well, the first thing we did is we got out online and looked at different websites, and that's a little bit where I ran into your organization, your company. And so I literally made a chart and looked at STEAM things, and it could have been a 3D printer, the Discover STEM Lab, and we went through and I tried to get recommendations for everything we were looking at. But there were a lot of things that didn't have recommendations. We had no one in our district that ever used the Discover series, or the brick lab. And so we bought that a little bit on faith, like it looks great, and we were hoping it would be as good as it looked. And I'm here to tell you it was. It's been amazing. First step was, what are we going to purchase? And then we went about getting all the items here, and it was exciting, but a little overwhelming. And because we have to learn how to use everything, and we did not have a lot of STEM training, or really any STEM training. And so we spent last summer, we got the money in February, all our supplies were here by May, and we spent the entire summer trying to figure out, how do we roll this out to students? What is this going to look like? How are we going to have different activities going on at the same time? And so what we needed to do, well, first of all, is we made this, what I think is an amazing list of choices. And we actually have a first semester and a second semester. And so if you notice, like the first thing was like discover science, physics, and we give a little descriptor, and then we ask the kids to rate it with a happy face or a medium face or a, I don't really interested in physics and I'm not going to do that face. And we went through and we just had them rate the Discover Technology Lab, Discover Math with the Connects and the Math and Geometry. And they rated everything, and we have 3 pages of activities and choices. And then we would take a class and we would put them into groups. We have 3 teachers in our gifted program, and sometimes a 4th teacher is able to come in and help. And so we all decided we probably ourselves could run 3 to 4 centers well. So as you're getting one off the ground, what do you do with the other? So we had to kind of tackle some of those logistics. And so every choice had direction sheets. And so what we did is we looked at your directions, and then we tried to figure out, if kids are working independently, what is that going to look like? And so these would be our Cubelet instructions. We had Discover Math student directions. We're rolling out VR goggles, and so we wrote VR goggles. What is that going to look like? And so when kids come to a center, they have some independence to go and work through and problem solve and troubleshoot. But we want deep learning and rigor. And so what we try to do is scaffold them through some basics, like what do we need to know in engineering in a certain concept, and then how can I extrapolate it out and then create something on my own with that concept. So we do a lot of the engineering design process, the learning, and then testing out, modifying, and then trying something on their own. So that's been a really exciting piece. They spend about 15 weeks studying one topic. So we're not jumping around topics. They are literally delved into that topic and going deep with their rigor. So as you can see, I mean, there's a great opportunity for kids to really test different letters of STEAM. And I think people are always like, what are you doing in your arts? We have the Hue Animation, which is technology and art. We brought in sewing machines, so kids are getting art and math. We did Brick Lab Communication. That was one of our choices. And so we have, I think, a wide variety of opportunities to meet all learners where they are.
That's great. It's cool to see how many options there are too, that they get to choose what's interesting to them and then kind of self-direct that. In that process, what would you say your role as a teacher is as you're guiding them through these activities?
Yeah, well, first, in terms of getting it set up so it could run on its own, was our first step. And I feel like that had to be done well for 12 activities to be running at the same time, and sometimes more depending on the day and what kids are interested in. I would say a lot of this is us encouraging kids to be problem solvers, and the kids also see us as problem solvers, because I did not know how to use a Lego Mindstorm and see what, some of the problems or foresee problems that kids would encounter. And so they had their problem solving, and we're encouraging them, but they're also seeing us problem solve and know that it's okay, that you don't have to get it right the first time. You don't have to know it perfectly. And we really work on that with our kids in terms of personal growth and development, like managing perfectionism, understanding what it is to be a gritty learner, understand what it is like to collaborate with a friend. And so honestly, if I could just describe an hour of, we could have kids with, behavior problems, learning disabilities. Everyone is working. Everyone is engaged. It's the best hour of our day. And it's really exciting to see their ownership they want to be involved. They want to be solving the problems. So I feel as teachers, I mean, we had to set the framework, and then we just have to be encouragers, and we just, have to be willing to troubleshoot with them. Some of the direction sheets, I'll be honest, had to be rewritten 6 or 7 times because we realized, a step was missing. We got to go back and try that again. So some of that happened throughout the process, but I do think it's good for kids to be able to see us making mistakes and learning with them.
How did you choose? I know you said you researched a lot of different options and looked for recommendations, but were there any things that went into how you chose the activities and products for your lab?
In terms of like the selection process, we were looking at things that were sustainable. That was a piece that we wanted to consider when we were purchasing. We didn't want one-time uses. We also wanted what we felt like were engaging for kids and that combined as much as the problem solving and critical thinking that we could get. And in terms of like our Discover and the Brick Lab, I think you would be amazed at what kids produced. We had a student that did the Brick Lab physics, and he only did probably 4 of maybe the 10 or 12 choices. And it's someone who wants to come back and continue because he liked it so much. And it was awesome that we were able to offer that every day, because some things like a Lego boost, you can only use for that one day. And if you only have 4 of them, then only 4 kids can do it. But some of the Brick Lab could be repeated every day. And so we were also looking for what could be repeated on each day so that we get the most use out of it.
In those groups of students, what are usually the numbers that you aim for each section?
Well, actually, we actually in our chart would say, so for like this year or this semester, we're doing, let me go to some of the Discover. Like Discover Physics, we did say was unlimited because we knew that many kids could do it. Not every kid is interested in physics. So in Cubelets, we said 3, but we realized that 2 is probably the maximum. So second semester, we're only allowing 2 kids to use it for that day, just because it's hard. We all have our own ideas of what we want to do. And when you get to the point where you're doing something new with the Cubelets and we don't agree, so we thought 3 was too many ideas were being put out. And so we thought 2 is a good number to manage with that. Brick Lab Math, we had 4 students per day. Discover Engineering. Now, I will tell you, I love Discover Engineering. This is one of my favorites. As a matter of fact, this would be one we would want to purchase again. We only got the one kit that came in our STEM, I guess, I don't know what you call it, but the set of 4. And we had a max of 2 students because it was just a cooperative, 2 students working together. And we really could only use it on 2 different days to have enough pieces. So that was one I would definitely want to buy again because the kids were so engaged. They learned engineering concepts, advanced engineering concepts, but you need the materials. So we had to look and say what could be done, taken apart at the end of the day and reused the next day. What is a standalone and could only be used, 4 times throughout the week. So we really had to put a lot of thought into that when we were forming our groups. So I would say on an average, groups ran between 2 to 4. Our exciting news was our Hue animation. We got more cameras, so that's very exciting. And we were able to secure Max for the cameras. And so we'll have 8 kids per day that can do the Hue animation claymation camp.
That's great. For anybody that doesn't know, Kim was our winner in the claymation animation giveaway, I think at the end of last year. So that was an exciting promotion. She created a clay figure and gave him a story and got some more cameras and claymation camp for that.
Actually, that was one of our students on a Friday class. It was their clay figure and that they had been working on in STEAM Lab. And so they had multiple ones. And I said, select one. I just saw this contest and let's tweet it out and give us a story. So it was all students. They selected who they wanted, their VR, Fred, and gave them a little story. And so that came out of our first semester STEAM Lab. So that was really exciting.
So what other results have you seen from this program for the students that get to participate?
Well, one thing, so here's our cute little, everyone on STEAM open house. I'll see if I can give you a little close up. They wear a little lanyard that says STEAM Lab Techspert. And so we have on STEAM Lab open house day, we invited parents to come in and they got to see everything. And we asked them to go around, start with their own child, hear what they had to say. And we asked the kids to share the letter of STEAM they were working in. And not only what went well, but what was difficult, what problems they had to work through, what they would have changed, what they would have tried differently, what they were excited about. And so they had a little, probably 3 to 4 minute speech that they were giving and then demonstrating whatever they learned. We had one student who did our Discover Math that had a journal this big of math formulas. I mean, he just took it to all levels. It's so impressive. And so he was able to demonstrate how he's figuring out the area of trapezoids and parallelograms. And I mean, for a fourth, fifth grader, those are advanced concepts. So that was really exciting. And that was all him delving in and reading the instructions and just going deeper. And so in terms of what we saw, first of all, student engagement was off the charts, amazing. Parent feedback, amazing. I mean, kids show up to class sick because they don't want to miss STEAM lab. I mean, it's just that type of excitement. They run in the door. What time is STEAM lab? They're looking on the board. So engagement, the problem solving, the collaboration, I would definitely say the critical thinking, because there is a lot of problem solving that has to go and thinking outside the box when things aren't working well, or to take an engineering concept you've learned and where it's applied in the world, and then what else could I do with it? So I would say all of that combined were some of the best things that we saw. We also asked the kids to write a reflection, and we had this little STEAM lab reflection.
Mm-hmm.
And we asked them backward-looking questions, would be like, how much did you know before you got started? Inward-looking questions, like, how do you feel about your project? What was frustrating? Outward, what do you think other people think about your project? So you had to kind of think, what do you think others are thinking about it? And then forward-looking, what would you do differently? Is there anything you would change or add now that you've done it? Any advice to give somebody? And the written reflections were just so, I mean, as a teacher, it was really exciting to see how much the kids loved the STEAM lab and how much they were learning and the rigor. I felt like we really got real deep learning. And that's something in the gifted program that we really strive for, is that we don't want to be on the surface. We really want to have the depth. And so that was something we really saw at a STEAM lab.
That's so cool to hear. It's so encouraging too to see when students get it. You know, they really grasp it. They're learning things that are useful and exciting to them, and hopefully that they'll continue to pursue in whatever they do next and through the future.
Yes, I absolutely agree. It's been exciting.
So what advice do you have for other educators that might be hoping to set up a STEAM lab or similar program in their school?
Well, I was thinking about that. First, technology changes. And so I would say don't wait until you think you know it or you think you've got it, because by the time you think you've got it, something's changed. And so my first advice would be just to jump in. We didn't know what this was going to look like. Honestly, we did not know if we could sustain that many groups, what that was going to look like for students, for teachers. So my first advice is to jump in and take the risk. And then don't be afraid to make mistakes. And I think it's okay for kids to see, you know, I'm learning how to use the VR goggles now and the 3D printer with Tinkercad. I don't know everything about it. I'm going to be learning with them. And I think it's okay for them to see us as problem solvers, that as educators, we haven't stopped learning. And I think that actually engages them more because they feel like they're collaborating with you. So I would definitely say it can feel overwhelming, but I would just say jump in, take that first step, start small. There's some things we've written that I want to make better, but we just had to start somewhere. We're doing a chemistry and a microbiology, and there's so much to each of those topics, but we decided, okay, we just got to start small, give them basic directions, and then see where it goes from there. So my encouragement to teachers would be to jump in, let your kids see that you're learning with them, and then just be excited about it. I mean, I think kids pick up on your excitement. If you're excited and they know you can't wait for STEAM Lab, they're going to be excited and can't wait for STEAM Lab. Honestly, I've been teaching 27 years, and to me, this has been probably one of my top 3 highlights in my education career. Not only just, I feel like I'm learning a lot, but just seeing the kids and just how much they love coming to class and just seeing their rigor and depth. to me, it's just been an educational highlight. So we have wanted to do more. So we're now we're looking for more things, talking to more people, seeing what's really worked well and how can we now write grants or secure funding to be able to purchase more supplies. I mean, I will say that is one obstacle is the cost. And so we were super fortunate and blessed to be able to win that money last year. But I mean, I do think it is doable. You just have to dive in. So those would be I guess the theme would just be a risk taker. Try, start small and then go big.
That's great. Yeah, for anyone that's watching, we are hosting a webinar this upcoming week about finding funding options for STEAM programs. So if you're interested, tune in. If you are watching this after that date, we'll have it on our past webinars page so you can watch the recording there as well. I think that's all I have. So thank you so much, Kim, for your input. I think a lot of that advice and stories that you have are really valuable. And so I hope that educators or whoever watches this can get something from that, be inspired for their own lab and the teaching that they're going to do. And if anyone else out there wants to share a story or a project that you've been working on, we would love to hear it and share it with other educators. So feel free to reach out, email us at sales@edventures.com and see the information we'll put at the bottom of this webpage. So thank you, Kim.
Thank you very much.